You have stumbled upon or perhaps intentionally ended up here at my podcast, Actual Leigh. No matter the path that led you here, I hope that you will hang out and join me for a truly enjoyable conversation. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Actual Leigh. And we are here with John from Elmwood Productions. And I got that right. Yes, it's
Yes.
right there. Duh. I was like, I know this, but sometimes my brain does the wrong thing the moment I want it, right? So,
I've been there. Yes.
and just how so the background of how we ended up connecting online is my son got me some puppets for Christmas, which was really exciting because well, they're puppets and they're so cute, and but also because my son was like supporting my
Your
creative
creativity.
outlets, and I didn't even know because he'd never like told me that he did that. So that was like, oh, this is so cool. But I have like nerve stuff in my hands, and the type of a more like sock puppet style was really hard for me to get the angle for do the video stuff. So I contacted you. It was like, and I thought about it for like a week before I did. I was like, oh, I don't know,
I was
and I
trying
was,
to remember how we connected like a week ago, and I'm like, oh, it was from the puppet. That's right, because
yeah.
through your son buying one, and then you reached out, yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, okay.
And I was like, can I send these back and maybe trade it in for something else? Or, so that ended up like that's how I got Dusty,
Mhm.
the my gray silver puppet. He's I love his little like around his face. I always make sure to give him a little extra sass because of the like fur
The way
movement
the
when he's
fur moves,
talking.
yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like a long mustache, like Sam Elliott or something.
right.
So yeah, that just kind of, and then I ended up having a movie night in my Discord with where we watched Ted.
Oh, cool.
And
Didn't know
that
that.
was, yeah, that
Oh,
was so much. Because I'm when I watch stuff, I never look into it. I just
okay.
go, I'm gonna watch that.
Going
So
blindly, so you don't know.
yeah. And so I brought everyone on the trip with me, and there were
Ooh,
like
that's an
naked,
interesting one.
there were naked puppets and stuff, and it got
Yep.
real quiet. Like,
People are like, they immediately they're like, oh, it's a puppet movie. It's gonna be for kids. It's like, no, no, no.
yeah, so that was like a lot of fun. And there's the other one, the Bernice.
Bernice too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't watched that one yet. I
No?
did
Okay.
I did get the streaming thing, and then
Cool. Okay.
I keep like being I'm gonna watch it, and then I get distracted
That's
because
okay.
yeah.
That's fine. It's PG-13, so it's not as no, there's no puppet nudity or anything. I don't even think there's any F-bombs. No, it's PG-13, so there couldn't be. But it's
Yeah.
it's it's weird. It's a weirdest, but my favorite thing. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
sketch
it just
comedy.
looked really, it looked really well, the trailer to me, it looked like it was sort of like a day in the life of kind of
Yes.
thing.
That's
And
exactly, it's like a sketch comedy day in the life of these two characters, and it's their journey throughout the day, and all the people they encounter is each skit. So
yeah,
they're just kind of witnesses and sometimes participants to what's going on around them. It's fun.
that's awesome.
I say, if
Yeah.
you ever seen a movie like Kentucky Fried Movie or Amazon Women on the Moon, picture that, but like a PG puppet version. SNL with puppets, like just skits, but two characters appear in every skit. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, I
that's
definitely need to. I think I just need to have my son come over, and then I'm really bad at watching movies alone, and then we'll just
ah
make it a thing. So, how how did you get into like doing this, like making
oh
puppets, doing the movies, and
it goes back to like childhood, really. Like when I was a kid, just was a I'm of the right age, born mid 70s, so right at, like, Sesame Street was hitting its peak right as Muppet Show was coming out. And then in the early 80s, there were all these other people doing similar things, being inspired by it. So every time I turned the TV on, there'd be a puppet on TV, whether it was a commercial, whether it was a show, whether it was a Saturday morning. It was just everywhere, and I just loved puppets, loved Muppets, and even as a kid, I was like, I want to do that. I want to figure that out. I want to figure that out. And then as your life goes on, you try other things, do other things. You have to have a job, like
yeah,
things like that. And I always even knew then, like, art isn't necessarily going to be the best paying job or a job at all sometimes. And that I had that reasonable, like, I understood that. So, like, get a job, make your art, and sometimes the art will make you the money. But I in my early late teens, got more interested in it again. Like, I was doing a lot of cartooning. I went in like a direction of doing a lot of comic book art and things like that. And then in my early 20s, me and my friends were doing comics. We'd like draw these comics just for each other sometimes, just goofy, make each other laugh. We were
Yeah.
writing stories, we had ideas for movies that we are gonna make, and we just never did. And then one day I was like, why don't we take this one comic I was doing and make a movie out of it? We're like, oh my God, that'd be funny. We could play the parts because it was based on us anyways. And then we were like, none of us are good looking enough to be movie stars. So let's figure something else out. And then we literally, it was like around this time of year, it was around the holiday season. A bunch of us got together to watch Muppet Christmas Carol. It was like 97, I think. And I was like, why don't we just do that movie idea with puppets? And I'll figure out how to make puppets. I've always wanted to do it. Now there's an excuse. And it just took over my life. I fell in love. I mean, I always liked it, but I fell in love with the whole art of it at that point and started learning how to build puppets. And just over the next 5 years, it just became what I did. Yeah. And then the movies, obviously, you make the puppets on purpose to make the movies. So they go
Hmm.
hand in hand for me. And next thing you know, we're making movies, making shows, YouTube. We have films playing in film festivals. It was like, holy crap, we're really doing this. That's the short version. And
Yeah,
comic book art went to the side, cartooning went to the side, like everything else, just it became all about making the puppets and puppet movies. So yeah, I
that's
just thought,
awesome.
yeah, it just took over my whole life. I mean, look at behind me. It's like, it's just, yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, that's gonna be, I mean, it just seems like it's fun. Like the video that you guys did with Ronnie Gross, and
Yes,
it just looks like so much
that was
fun.
I don't know what you and Ryan talked about it, but like it was 2 days of shooting and it was like breakneck pace. It was so hot. Of course, you never know what you're gonna get in New England summer. And of course, the 2 days he was up here to shoot it was like 100 degrees. But it was so much fun to shoot. We had such a good time doing it. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you get like, because I know you have like puppets available on Etsy and stuff. Do you get many sales through there or?
It goes in like, I mean, you do Etsy too, right? Yeah, you do. I don't know how yours is, but for me, it's like in waves. Like I'll get like a bunch of orders at once, then nothing for 6 months.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It's just how it is. And usually around this time of year is when I'm getting all the people. Oh, can you make this for me? And I need it by Christmas. It's like, well, it's 3 days before. So no. Yes, I can make it. You're not getting it till April. Like,
yeah.
um, but like, so I always say the puppet making is what funds the movies. So I make enough on it to help make the movies, if that makes
Okay,
sense. Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah,
I do
it's
like,
like,
there's a lot of commissions that I do that don't end up on Etsy. Like how people reach out, and those are usually much more high end. So those really help finance the things. Yeah.
okay, that's cool. Yeah, my Etsy's like, I don't even, I swear Etsy makes sure that people see stuff so they earn enough every month to pay Etsy for the ads that I pay for.
Ah,
So I
it,
go like it'll be really quiet all month and then I'll have like a week where I get like just
a,
enough sales to kind of cover.
cover the ad base. Yeah. I haven't done the
Yeah.
yet. I haven't done
I
the ads yet, but
I wouldn't get any sales without it. I just can't get seen like on any like
yeah.
algorithms just hate me. So I'm
Oh,
like,
they
yeah.
hate like I'm pretty sure we're like shadow banned on like Elmwood product on Facebook right now because we'll post stuff and like 6 months ago we were getting dozens of likes and views and things like that, and now we're getting one. I'm
Yeah.
sure, and we stopped buying ads there. Like a year ago because we weren't getting anything out of it really. And I
Yeah.
think as we stopped buying ads, they're like, oh yeah, well we're not going to put your stuff out there at all then. So
It
it's
wouldn't surprise me. They're so petty.
and
The
they've
and
never and they don't show you where the ads really go. They show you like the stats, but it's bullshit.
yeah, it's like I've posted a few things where they're like, "Oh, if you promote it,
Yeah,
if you
always.
spend $30, you get like 111 people will see it." And I'm
Yeah,
like, I mean, at least TikTok, whatever they do with their ads, they like if you promote your stuff, you assuming it's honest, you're getting like views. And I
getting
was promoting to get followers so that I could hit 1,000 so I could do lives. And I was getting followers, but I don't think they're real counts. You know, I think they
that's another
just
thing. Like our YouTube, we've done YouTube ads, which has actually worked out really well for us. But we have under 1,000 subscribers, which just still baffles me how many views we get. But people just don't subscribe. And also like we'll watch all friends who are like I subscribed, and then they had to go subscribe again because YouTube kicked them off it. And I think they're trying to keep some of the smaller channels down
Mhm.
because they're still throwing ads on your stuff, but you get no payment from it.
Right.
So if they can keep you down, they don't have to pay you, but they'll certainly put ads on your stuff, which is like horseshit in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it is what it is. As long as people are seeing our stuff, I have to be happy about it.
yeah, like YouTube is I don't think people see my stuff there. Like I can't tell because people are really selfish with the likes and stuff, so you don't ever really know. Did you see it? So on the rare occasion I get like a like or something, I'm like, yay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Like,
yeah,
but
I've
I will
never
say, like
tried to promote there.
in the past like 4 months, we've had 100 more subscribers. So it's like, oh, we're doing something right, you know.
Yeah,
But whatever it is, you know. But like
that's awesome.
we also do it for us at the end of the day. We're, we make our movies to entertain ourselves, and if we like it, we know somebody else will.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the like all the stuff that I do is for my own enjoyment. And then once I put it online, it's because I want to share my enjoyment with other
Yeah.
people.
Right.
It's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish the shitification hadn't like taken over the internet so effectively, but like,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's like even though it's like I want to share with my friends, it's not even about like go like reaching beyond that. And my friends aren't seeing it. I'm like, why aren't my
And
friends
that's
seeing
yeah,
it?
that's how we started too. We were like, we just doing this for us, and if we like it, we want to show our friends. And then we didn't even do YouTube for years. We just we would burn it onto DVDs and then just give
Yeah.
them away to people. Like so people and now then YouTube started happening. I was like, well, let's set up a YouTube page, and then for like 5 years, I think we only had like 2 videos on it. We weren't really. Then finally, it was like, all right, let's just start putting everything up there, and then we have the VHX page, which is like this the streaming page where you can buy our stuff, and that does
Yeah,
okay. When we put a new thing out, we always end up selling stuff, and then it dies for like 6 months or a year until we put the next thing on there. But
that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, the when YouTube first came out, I used it as like just a spot to share like random funny stuff with my friends, and all that stuff is still there even though
that's
I've
awesome.
started.
Yeah,
I just left it. It's like stuff like me
yeah.
chasing my mom down a hallway. Like
It's part of your life, part of your memories too.
yeah.
Like why take it down? Like it's not.
Yeah, I refuse to niche. I'm like, sorry,
No,
I'm just not gonna do that.
we like people are always like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Like if you went on TikTok and did this or this, and it's like it's one more thing I have to do, and I don't want to do that. It's not the direction the films I want to make or whatever, and like I just can't just jump into things because it's popular. Like it's never been.
Exactly. I've
If you want
never
to do
I
something, heck yeah, let's go, let's do it. But
Yeah. I've never done a trend. Like I just haven't they've never it's no I've never looked at it and went, wow, that would be so much fun. Give me the
right,
dopamine, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think
I
the same
just
thing with
do.
like with Etsy, people are always like there's these trends that happen, and a lot of people like if a new Muppet movie comes out, I'll get 100 people asking me to make them a Statler and Waldorf or a Fozzie Bear. I'm like, I don't do that. It's like
Yeah.
how much money you can make. I'm like, yeah, but it's bad art mojo. It's
Yeah.
like it's a copyrighted character that I don't have the right to make, and I don't want. And there's plenty of people who make replicas. I just don't want to be known like, yeah,
Yeah.
like
There's
that's a
I think
bad
sometimes
juju.
yeah, there's like an integrity line in
That's the word.
creation
Yes.
that yeah, I definitely like I mean, I have nothing against like fan art. There's a lot of really like cute like I have some like
Oh,
most of the art for my wall is
yeah,
all like fan art stuff,
I'm pro
but
fan
it's
art. Yeah,
really obvious that it's fan art, right? It's the
right.
people who kind of try to like make
Claim that
something look yeah, and I'm
they're
like,
the owner, and
that's where it feels weird.
that's where I'm afraid. Like if I made a replica of Bert and Ernie, somebody would turn around and be like, I'm using a real Bert and Ernie, and this guy made them, and it's like they're not. Even if they look like exactly the same, they're not the real Bert and Ernie.
Yeah.
Don't put that on me.
Yeah. Do you have the Muppet Legos?
I have I have all the whole the figurines. Yes.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
I have some buddies who were like, I remember I bought a couple of them, and then I have a couple of buddies who were like, could grab the bag and rub it and know who it was. They're just like
Wow.
Lego savants. Like, you know Gonzo yet? This one's Gonzo, and they'd buy it for me. I'm like, yeah. So I have them all, which is cool. Yeah, they're all in my. I have
Awesome.
a barn in my yard that is the studio for puppet making, and they're all like on a shelf in there. Like, I have a shelf of knickknacks, and all the Legos are there, along with um one that looks like our character Steve the Vampire that a buddy of mine went to one of those Lego shops and like put all the pieces together to make it look like Steve. One of
Yeah.
the puppeteers did that for me, which is cool. So
That's that's awesome.
and
Yeah,
a
I
prince.
did some lip syncing videos with the
That's awesome.
Lego
Yeah.
guys, just like really like not stuff that was Muppet related sounds
No,
either. So it was
it's
really
fun.
like and that was fun. I want to do that again one of these days when I feel like making that type of it's like a
Nice.
whole different energy making
Yeah.
that kind of content. And I'm like, that's not where I'm at right now. So
That's kind of why I like making music videos too, because it's somebody else's song usually. Not that we're not musicians and all, but usually if somebody else comes to us with a song And it's the same idea where you can just have fun and live in playing somebody else's park, and like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's fun. Yeah, like Ronnie, for example, he came
Yeah.
with like,
I
hey,
love that song too.
that's a good
Like,
song. Like one of his buddies works with us. He's a producer and writer with Elmwood, and he was like, "Hey, my buddy Ronnie has this song. He wants to do video with puppets, and here I am working with you guys now doing puppet stuff." And it was like just perfect synergy, and yeah, it was so much.
yeah, that's so cool. So you said you used to do like comic strips and stuff like that. Did you ever like do you put them on your website or anything? Have you shared any of them or
No, I
not?
haven't done.
Not good.
I haven't done anything in so long either. Like the only time I draw now really is if I'm designing a puppet. I don't really draw for like or if I'm just like doodling when downtime, just sitting with a sketchbook in front of me. But it always ends up being something for the puppet making or character design. There might be not maybe on my website there might be some old comic page like strips probably, but nothing that I would be like, oh, let's share these again.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go back and look at them and I'll steal ideas from them for movies, for like jokes. Like the Risley Brothers short film we did, the opening scene was from a comic I wrote, and I just stole that and made it into a scene for a movie.
So it'd be more like something you could put into like the credits of a movie to be like see the sort of the roots of an idea or
Maybe, yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
like or
Yeah,
like
I
with
can't
yeah.
I was gonna say I can't draw at all, so there's no like I don't visualize, and so there's no outlet for, if I try to draw, it doesn't ever look like anything.
Oh, yeah.
So I find I'm always like when other people are like, "Oh, I could draw," I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool." It's like,
No, like, and usually if I'm drawing like a puppet idea, usually the design and then the final puppet looks so different from each other because as you're going, oh, what if I do this instead or that instead? And like even like the Ronnie puppet looked way more like real Ronnie till I started building it because that character that sings the song with him is supposed to be is a puppet based on him. And I had the
yeah,
head that was longer in the sketch and things like that. And then when I started building it, I'm like, no, no, I want to Muppetize him more. And I made Ronnie look more like Ernie on purpose. As
yeah,
I was going, I'm like, I want to look like Ernie. I think that would be more fun. Like, it still had the look of it. Still looked like Ronnie, but it was just yeah. I went a
yeah.
different as I was building. Yeah,
That's cool. I somebody sent me a blank puppet, and that's Nakey Guy. I just
yeah. I've
used
seen
him
that
as
one.
is,
It's fun.
and I I thought about decorating him when I first got him, but I was like, I have no idea how I want him to look or anything. But I
Yeah.
think if I ever did like design a puppet, it would be the same way I do my art, which is by feel. And
Hmm.
so I would never know what it was gonna look. It would just be insane.
So often I do that. I'll be like, okay, I need to make a character for something, and I'll just start building. Like I know the color of the fabric, and then I just go from there. Or if I know like we wrote a script, this character's supposed to look like this, but sometimes it never. Yeah, a lot. Like I'd say it's 50-50 pre-planned, and then the other 50% is like I just go by instinct as I'm going. And every now and then, the
Yeah.
same thing. I'll make a puppet, like just a raw, naked puppet, essentially, and then be like, I can't mess this up now. It's so pure. If I put a nose and ears and eyes on it, it's gonna ruin. Look how good. And like, being the nerd that I am about sewing and all that, I'm like, this, you can't even see the seam down the middle of the face. I'll ruin that. There'll be a nose there, and you won't know how good this seam was. I'm like, no one cares but me, man. Like, just put a face on it. Like,
I totally relate to that.
like you're
Yeah,
afraid of
Nick,
screwing it up. Yeah.
yeah. Nikki guy like has so much personality for having no features. It's
And part
so
of it is
fascinating
the
to me.
performance you're doing
Like,
too, like what you do with it.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't like I've never really played with puppets. I grew up, I think we're born around the
Yeah.
same year-ish. And so I always, loved that stuff, but I just never played with them, never had access to it. So when my friend was like, "Well, you should try puppets," because I was like, I don't think I could do the lip syncing thing on TikTok. He's like, "Do it with puppets," and I was like,
Okay. Yeah.
"Whoa!"
Yeah.
So
Like you can do that. Yeah.
but the whole like actually doing it, while I'm like so focused on the act of doing it that I'm not
Mhm.
really aware of like what it looks like. And then
Yeah.
so when I go to watch the video, I actually get the experience of like seeing it, and I'll be
That's
like,
cool. Yeah.
there's so much body language in that I didn't even know I was
Yeah.
doing while I did it.
Like I grew up with having lots of toy puppets because I just love the love puppets so much that like okay, Christmas came, I got Bert and Ernie, I still have them right there. Those puppets there were the ones I had when I was a kid, and that
That's
uh
so cool. And you got
Rolf,
like
same. I
Grover. Is
still
that
have
is
it.
that is that the
Yeah.
count behind?
It is the count. What's left of the
Yeah.
count.
Uh
Some of these are
uh
pretty beat up. Yeah. But so I was always playing with them and trying to figure out how it was done. But then when you start doing it, like we start doing it like on a professional level, I feel sometimes I'm disconnected when I'm down underneath it. We have a camera that's on us and then a monitor in front of us so we can see exactly what the camera is saying. But I don't feel like it's actually me because I'm looking at the screen, not at my hand.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
and then I watch it back later. I'm like, wow, I did that. Like, oh, that's my voice coming out of it. Like, okay, cool. And lip
Yeah.
syncing is a huge practice. Like, whenever new people come in and want to learn, I'm like, all right, what's your favorite song? This is how you learn syllables and beats and how to get the mouth moves. Lip sync your favorite song. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, we there's a lot of practice with our team is doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. Some of the big accounts on TikTok with the puppets, they just go really fast. They
And
don't
it's so it's
actually,
it's bad
it's
puppetry.
awful. It's
Yeah, I hate
awful.
that.
And they have like, and I'm like, why
Yeah,
do you have so many followers? Like,
because I would like that's like because people don't realize it's bad. Does that make sense?
yeah,
And
it
funny's
does.
funny. Don't get me wrong. Good funny's comedy's comedy, but like yeah, they did. Yeah, I don't. And the songs they're choosing are popular songs and things like that. I'm sure. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice though when someone will like comment and and be like, "Wow, you're really good at that." And
the
I'm like,
puppetry's
I did,
good. Yeah,
yeah, and I didn't. I'm like, because I didn't know that I was good. Like, I don't think I'm like great. I'm still learning, but it's like they have like distinct body language,
hmm
personality things, and I feel like that means I'm doing it right, you
you're
know?
doing something right.
And
Exactly.
and I'm
Yeah,
like, so it's so flattering when I get that feedback,
excellent.
and
Good.
I look forward to seeing like in a few years how it's changed because I can see from the first year to the second year
The
how
second year,
much,
yeah, I can
yeah,
look at like from project to project or year to year. I can look back at like some of the earlier stuff and be like, ooh, that's a little rough. Then see stuff we're doing now. I'm like, oh, that's so much better. Every now and then I look at something we just did and like, ooh, I could have done better. Like it still
yeah.
happens. You're always your own harshest critic, or most of us are.
Right, right. Yeah. The hardest one is doing when I try to do two puppets at the same time. It's
It's
so
not
hard.
easy. Yeah.
It's and the hardest part isn't even the timing, it's keeping I keep doing this with my hands.
Sorry,
Like
leaning. I call it the leaning. Yeah.
yeah.
Whenever we're puppeteering, there's always one guy in the group, a girl in the group, that all of a sudden her puppet just starts going, and there's somebody behind the camera going, "You're leaning," and then everyone stands up. It's like, no, no, just that one person. Oh, okay, yeah, lean because your arm gets tired, and it just
Yep.
naturally when you have a weight on it too, and people don't realize like,
Yep.
oh, it's just a doll on your hand. How heavy can it be? And it's like I have some puppets that are like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Like and hold that over your head for 10 minutes. It's not easy.
Yeah, and it's even like even people that work out, even if you're not holding weights, like holding your arms up is like a whole thing. It's
It's a whole
not.
different thing than just going than repeating.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's interesting. Now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I want to go do puppet stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm planning like after I'm having surgery in January, and then after that, once I'm recouped, I'm gonna start working on making content. I know TikToks, it sounds like the band's actually gonna go through, which I'm
Oh
pretty
wow.
surprised. I didn't think it was gonna I thought it was just gonna be in the courts for a few years and then it would go away, but
Wow.
so I'm gonna go yank all the sounds that I've
Oh, there you
saved,
go. Yeah. So you can save it.
so and I can just use some other software to record with and start saving sounds on Instagram. But it's weird because a lot of that content comes from TikTok. Like that's the part of what made me like TikTok is that there is this community of sharing there that you don't see. Like the American culture is very much like, don't copy me, you're stealing from me, blah blah
Right.
blah,
Oh yeah.
whatever. And on TikTok, it always felt more like a sandbox. So if somebody does something, you can like duet it, spoof off it. So that's why you have like a cat video and somebody adds a bass line to it, somebody adds a
Right.
drum,
They keep building on
and
it. Yeah.
and the way that these trends happen and stuff. And I love it. I love that like the fact that there's none of that cattiness. I'm sure it's there. I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah.
But so I'm really hoping that when if TikTok goes away, that we will continue to see some of that because there's so
Right.
much creativity coming from there that we're not getting it. Like everything that's good on Facebook and Instagram is coming from TikTok. Like YouTube's the only other place that has unique stuff,
Yeah, because you can
you
create your own
know?
original things that and
Yeah.
like you can like a lot of our videos, we haven't done it in a long time actually, but we used to share the same exact file to Facebook. So if you don't want to go to YouTube to watch it, it's on Facebook to watch. But like that stuff just gets buried so easily. So
Yep.
rather just
Yeah.
share the link. I'd rather just share the link now to YouTube and
Yeah, because they're going to bury
Watch
it
it there.
anyways.
Yeah, they're gonna bury it anyway, so I'd
Yeah.
rather have people click it and go watch it there, and then I can actually see the view, you know?
Yeah,
Usually they're
exactly.
not always honest with that either. We had a video of ours have like, and one day had like, which is a lot for us, for our style, like had like 400 views in one day. And then the next day I went and checked and it had 102. And it's like you're just taking these things away. And I get like if somebody watches it 5 times from their one computer in one day, that should count as one view. Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
but there's no way that that many went down by 30, like 30% or whatever it was. It was like, no, you guys, you didn't like it. You didn't want us to have that many because it gets us closer to monetizing, so you took it away.
Yeah, that's so weird. I'm still learning like YouTube I don't worry about like I don't ever expect to get enough like traction to monetize there, which is why I don't worry about swearing
And
or any of that
we
stuff.
don't ever want to,
But
even if we had the views and the hours and the subscribers, we're not going to monetize it anyways. We don't want
yeah,
to. Um,
yeah.
Part of it is because we do some crazy stuff sometimes. As soon as you monetize, there's so many more rules. You know?
Yep. Yeah, I hate the like I just want to be a person and
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed you probably have, but there's this irony in the internet and all of the censorship that's on the internet now that wasn't there initially.
Oh
And
my
you grew
gosh.
up
Yeah.
with George Carlin as well, right? And
Oh my, yeah.
he was such a big like part of changing the laws around censorship on
Yep.
TV and bringing, that's why we can watch like
And
TV and they say shit and fuck and all
yeah,
a bitch and stuff.
but
It's
then you go on
because of
like
that.
YouTube, and we just put a video out last week, which ends with a character pretending to put a gun in his mouth. It's a toy gun. It's clearly a toy gun, but he makes and he cuts before he puts it in his mouth. But if we were monetized, that would be dropped. YouTube would somebody
Yeah.
would complain about that, and YouTube would take it off, and we're just like we don't really care. Like they're not, you know, like and
Yeah.
it's clearly a joke. But and I'm not saying jokes are jokes, you know, and that it was leading up to like and I get people are sensitive to things, but also like comedy is comedy. Like life is
Yeah.
life. Like if you don't like it, don't watch it. That's how we were raised.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
you don't like George Carlin, you like Robin Williams saying F bombs because you like him on Mork and Popeye, then don't watch his stand up.
Right.
Watch more. If you don't like NWA and Guns N' Roses, keep listening to Bon Jovi and the Beastie Boys. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's weird because like the TV now they say all this shit, but on the internet you can't even say stuff like suicide.
suicide.
You
Yeah, like
know?
and
You,
even if you're talking about like, oh my God, this person committed suicide, all these like you watch it on YouTube or on Facebook, they unalive themselves, and I'm always like,
yeah.
what the fuck? Just say
Yep.
it. Like it's a real
Yeah.
thing. It's an unfortunate thing. All jokes, like, but just say the word. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not
And
a
it's
racial
all
slur.
these
You
it's
know,
so weird like there's so much language that's like that and I think, Facebook does it, but I think TikTok was kind of the worst and
was it?
has like
Yeah.
is because that's where a lot of that stuff comes from. But to me, I'm like, we should be able to use these words. It's like everybody they
The conversation needs to be there because these are real things.
yeah.
So
And if and avoiding the words doesn't stop the things from existing, it just makes it harder to talk about them
right.
because we won't, but also it's because they're relying on automation to
Mhm.
deal with stuff and language requires context
Right.
and they're
Yeah.
taking the context out.
And
It,
it's just bizarre to me. Yeah. Like
yeah. I got on Instagram I shared a photo from a fellow creator and I just like his photo style and there was a gun in his photo
and
and
people flipped out.
the system flagged me and started everywhere Facebook anywhere meta related I started getting these pop-ups saying if I need help I should call this number
Okay, I'll take
and
that. That's that.
I
But
was
at the
like
same time, it's like there should be a way to be like, no, thank you, I'm good, and then they don't pop up anymore. Yeah.
exactly but I to me like if I was in that position that would just set me over the edge
Okay.
because you think about like how isolating social media is that the only thing that takes notice of you is the
Is a bot.
system.
Yeah.
It's totally like it, it's yeah, but it kept popping up everywhere and I was like, "Oh my God, it was just a photo. It was
Yeah.
art."
And also with
Like
like yeah, there the context. Yeah. There's
yeah, it's
oh yeah.
yeah, I just go like, "Oh, yeah." And I feel very strongly that people should be responsible for their sensitivities. It's not that people shouldn't be aware when they're engaging with them, but if you're just making content, you're not that people
Also, like,
choose to engage with your content.
if
So
somebody I know comes to me and says, "Hey, this type of thing is not my thing," I'm going to say, "Okay, then when we're together, I won't bring that up." But
exactly.
also, I'm not going to stop making my art the way I make my art. So keep that in mind too. In Bernice, there is actually the same gun my buddy pretends to put in his mouth is in Bernice too. It's a character in the movie essentially. It pops up a couple times in the movie, and at the end, it's like an anti-gun message. It's an anti. I'm not anti-gun. People want guns, you have guns. I don't care. But it's a very much a violence isn't the answer message at the end of
Right.
and somebody else saw the movie and they're like, I was really upset by that because of all the school shootings and this and that. I'm like, well, first off, there's no kids in this movie.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's no schools in this movie. Thirdly, the gun never shows up in any of those places. And at the end, the gun transforms into a flower. You know, like
Yeah.
it becomes this message of something else, of something more serene, I'm not giving the movie away. Don't worry. I want to because you haven't seen it, and other people haven't seen it, but and I'm like, you're looking for something to be upset by right now.
Yeah. They
Also, you don't
fixated
have kids
on
in school. You don't like you're one of those people who wants to find controversy somewhere, and you're coming to me and you're trying to complain to me. Movie's been out for 2 years. I'm not changing the movie now because you said so. Yeah,
right.
and also we made the movie. You had nothing to do with the making of the movie. It wasn't your message. It wasn't your story.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Seriously.
if you don't like it, don't
Boundaries.
watch it. You know, yeah,
Yep. Yeah, I don't like like guns are not the problem. The way they're used is a symptom of another problem.
right,
So
yeah, yeah.
there's I understand the want to like, well, we haven't
I'm
figured
all
out how
for
to fix the
regulating.
problem,
Yeah,
but yeah, like yeah, I'm a big fan of requiring education and basically regulation, not just for guns, for lots of things. People should be more educated when they're driving their cars because
yeah.
goddamn,
That's
you
a
know.
fair. Yeah, like Chris Rock had this great stand-up years ago. I don't know if you're into Chris Rock, but he made a great joke about how bullets should cost like $300 a bullet because then when people are like, I'm gonna go shoot that person, but I gotta wait till I get paid, and by the time you get paid to go buy a box of bullets for $1,000, you're over the anger that made you want to shoot somebody.
Right.
You really
But
gotta want to
like,
shoot somebody to like spend $300 on one bullet. And I'm like, that's
mhm.
really funny. I
Yeah,
like that idea.
the areas that I tend to live, there are often guns going off, especially around like holidays. And if bullets were very expensive, maybe there would be less of that. I
Less
wish I'd
of it,
make
yeah.
fireworks more expensive too. Because they were like going for probably 3 months before 4th of
Oh,
July.
where I live, it's like they start as soon as the weather breaks. I'm in Connecticut,
Yeah.
and the whole state's like that in Connecticut. Like come April 15th, like they're just you hear them all, every weekend somewhere. Somebody in my neighborhood, and then they go until Labor Day. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it was literally like pretty much every night until 2 in the morning. And I was like,
Oh,
who
that's a
has
lot,
money for that? Who has
right? Like
money for that? Like
I'd rather be spending my money, but that's somebody's hobby, I guess, too. Like I've never that somebody loves this stuff. Like it's not
and
me,
blowing
but
shit up and running away because
yeah.
they're illegal here, but they do
Are
it
they? Okay.
anyway.
In
Yeah.
Connecticut, there's like different levels of legal. So yeah, but you can have loud bangers. You just can't have like up in the sky stuff without permits and stuff. But
Yeah.
oh,
It's
yeah,
I guess it is a hobby. Just feel like,
yeah,
but I mean, of course I also think that we should have spaces where people can go do things, right? Like go drive your car fast. And yeah, we have racetracks, but they're
yeah.
really expensive. Like
Expensive to
it
go.
should
Yeah,
be
I
it
know
should be
they
accessible to
should be more
get that shit out of your
accessible,
system,
right? And like I grew up growing up in the 80s and 90s, skateboarding was a crime. It wasn't really a
Yeah.
crime. Like in the neighborhoods I grew up in, we had stickers. I'm sure every town had them. Skateboarding is not a crime, and we'd put them up places.
Yep.
We were just riding our skateboards around, and we get harassed with the kids on the bikes doing the same thing. On bicycles, didn't get a hard time. It was because it was a skateboard. You're dangerous. And
Yeah.
then skate parks started popping up, and it was like, okay, good. There's a place to go now. But
Yep. I
yeah,
was so happy when they started doing that. But in the area that I grew up, both the BMX bikers and the skateboarders got it pretty
got
good.
okay,
Like
yeah,
it was, but and the cop also bikers. My parents were bikers, and even once I was adult riding motorcycles, the cops they're just so bored there that
oh
like,
wow, yeah,
they're just like they have to harass anybody that's different. It is so irritating. I was just like, oh my God, you guys need to. They need a better hobby. Like,
yeah. And also like like I'm pro police and all that, obviously. Like, we gotta have protection. But like if you're giving me a hard time riding my skateboard, there's probably somebody out there doing something way worse. This is the easy thing you could be dealing with right now.
Exactly.
Especially if I'm on public roads, skateboarding where you can skateboard, but you give me a hard time just because of the way I look. When I was
Yep.
12, 13, 14 years old, I had the long hair and the ripped jeans. You know what? There's the Cumberland Farms of the road is being shoplifted right now, and you're worried about me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was like, like my mom's boyfriend, like long hair, and he had it was a Honda, but it was modified, kind of, it looked like a chopper.
Yeah.
And he'd like ride around like that. And there was this one cop that would like wave
Just
at him
harass
and
him.
follow him around. And like, yeah, he would like ticket him for anything he could. And it got so bad, my mom ended up going to court and basically getting the judge to be like, hey, you are harassing these people. You stop.
Yeah.
And it's just because they
He had
look
nothing else to
different.
do. He had that
And
wild hair up his ass. He didn't like the guy for some reason. It's like, what?
yeah, and it was like, dude, there's a huge drug problem in this area. There's definitely gonna be crime. Go do something that matters.
Do something
Like,
productive. Yeah.
yeah, go help an old lady cross the street. Like, just do
Even, yeah, do
something.
something positive too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I lived in the city of Richmond in here in California, which used to be really like one of the bad cities in terms of crime and stuff, but the police force changed the way that they handled things and it helped like tremendously.
Good.
And
Yeah.
when I owned my house there, the police were always very nice. Like I never, it was,
Good.
it was nice to have like cops that actually seem like they kind of gave a shit about what
They
they
were
were
actually
doing.
public servants,
Yeah.
not just stormtroopers, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, like I had dumb things happen, like somebody reversed into me and then ran.
Oh, yeah.
And they were very nice and tried to help me figure it out. But when I lived in Berkeley, our place kept getting broken into. They knew who did it, but they couldn't, there was no like proof. It was
You have
like,
to catch them. Yeah, you have to catch
yeah,
the
and the
actor
cop
with the stuff, and yeah,
and they were like not
not
it was
helpful.
they made me feel worse about it. Like, it
Like it was your
sucked. And I
fault.
was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I was like, these were kids at my son's school harassing my son by breaking into our place, and it was crazy. And the cops were just like, "Ugh," and I was like, ugh, Berkeley.
well, one of them probably knew one of the kids' parents and didn't want to make a problem for the kids they knew or something. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like it was
Uh,
weird. Yeah, but yeah.
but
It
puppet
was fun.
movies, just get an
Yeah,
art.
puppet movies. Have you ever made a police puppet?
We just put out a movie called we did a remake of Ed Wood's movie Plan 9 from Outer Space. We just released that around Halloween, and there are cops in it, and there's
Okay.
police in it. Yeah, they were just other puppets who had dressed like police, but it was fun. Yeah,
And
so they
you make their clothes and everything?
sometimes. Usually we find like the puppets are on average like a 2T, 3T, 4T for clothing for kids' clothes. So a lot of times we'll try to find something that we can modify. Some stuff you're just not going to get, like for a puppet.
Yeah.
But I went on Amazon, I think, and saw like little kid police uniform, ordered it. They were still way too big, so like we pinned them and things like that, but we didn't hem them. But sometimes we hem stuff, sometimes we don't. It really depends on what it is. And I make some clothes, but I hate doing it.
Yeah.
So I try not to if I don't have to. I'd rather find something that would work and like and adapt it to fit. But yeah, in Plan 9
Yeah.
there were cops, obviously, because there were cops in the original film. So the two bumbling idiot police, so we had those in it. They
Yeah,
were
I got
I
a
played one of them.
chef's
Yeah.
outfit for Naked Guy,
Nice.
but he wears it just with the apron, then the bow tie and the hat. There's no
Nice.
like
No
shirt.
shirt. Yeah. That way he's naked guy. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't wear a shirt.
It's
Yeah.
so like, I don't know. But yeah, my mom offered me a sewing machine and I'm like, um, I don't know if my brain can do the sewing, but I realized that I could probably make stuff for the puppets if I
Right.
could get my brain around it to it's
Yeah.
more like a attention span thing, but
For me, I do a lot of hand sewing. I have a sewing machine and everything, but I do a lot of hand sewing is for like the puppets themselves. Hiding the seams is better if you hand sew. I do a lot of
okay.
hot gluing too. Like when you look at my puppets on Etsy, there's like different levels of quality. And the less expensive ones are hot glued. There's no sewing on them. It's all hot glue because they're faster to make. When you start sewing, it takes 3 times as long, so therefore 2 to 3 times as much money for the puppet.
Right.
But so like when I'm hand sewing them, the seams are hidden better, they're more professional looking. Um, and sewing machines, you can't get those kind of seams either. Like, so it's, Kermit the
Yeah,
Frog has a seam down the middle of his head that you just can't see,
that's
because it's hand
that's
sewn so
cool.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do
like
you, so do you
we have
have
fun.
like a style, like a sort of a consistent style for doing the mouths and heads and stuff, or is it
Um,
like, or do you like learn new stuff
I'm,
periodically to?
I'm always picking up new things. I have like a dozen go-to patterns that I'll use. Some I've developed, some I've paid for. Everything gets adapted. Like even the ones I bought, they change. Because you try things like I don't like the way they designed that. I'll make this a little bigger, that a little smaller, things like that. And then you do that for different puppets too. They can enlarge or minimize the size. And then always trying new stuff though. Yeah, just to like try things out. The worst that happens is you screwed up. You wasted a little bit of material, but you'll use it for something else. I've
Yeah.
almost never thrown something away completely. Just, all right, well, I'm not happy with that, but I'll throw a beard on it. It'll look good. It'll hide mistakes with the facial hair or, things like that, like in head, those heads on the tree. Some of those were older puppets that I'd screwed up. So I'm like, let's just cut them up. They put the heads in the tree. Now they have a new life and well, new death, but they're they got not gonna waste it.
Those,
Obviously, those
tho-
got thrown away after, but like, yeah,
yeah, that was so gnarly. It was great.
thank
And
you.
I actually
Thank you.
I thought about all the material involved. And I was like, all
Yeah.
those puppets.
But they were puppets that we'd used for other things that were beat up and old. And like, so it was like, you know what, we're not going to use these puppets anymore because they're also, the foam disintegrates over time and things like that. And so
Oh,
let's,
do you remember pop-up videos on VH1 where they would have like a video and it would like
oh,
pop up
the pop-up
information about
videos. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
It would be so cool to do that where you
Oh,
like do a
pop-up
pop-up
movie.
yeah, pop-up reference to
That'd be
the
fun.
different
Where
the
the
other
heads were.
projects. Yeah,
Yeah, that they were
exactly.
using. That'd be funny. Yeah. Yeah, and I remember like we put just story about making the movie. We put the heads on the tree, covered the blood, like with the fake blood and all that. And then we left for a week. Because it was like we had a week off in between shooting, but we left everything there. Just like these heads on a tree in the middle of the woods. Like we had permission to be on this property and everything. We were, but then we came back a week later, and the guy who had the property, a buddy of ours, dad, was like, "Hey, that tree is just over my line on somebody else's property." And we are like, "Oh no!" And he's like, "But the owner of the property thought it was so funny." He was like, "Yeah, it's cool. Just leave. You can still use it." Like he let us use it. But over like the course of the filming, I think we left those up for like 3 weeks. It would rain, it would get gross, and they just got more funky. And if you watch the movie, like the first time I see them, they're kind of gross. But the last time you see them, they're even weirder looking because 2 or 3 weeks went by of just weather. And I remember when we took them off the tree, they were just so heavy because the foam just soaks it all in. They were starting to smell moldy. So like people are like, "Oh, you got to save
Oh.
that stuff and archive it. Maybe you can put it on eBay someday for hundreds of dollars." And I'm like, "No, those went right in a garbage bag. They went right from the tree to a garbage bag." So did some of the puppets from the movie. A couple of the puppets did not come back. They just went right into the trash. And but
Yeah.
but most of them, most of the puppeteers that worked in that movie have their puppet, which is cool. Even with the
That's
bloody
cool.
necks or whatever they have, what's left of the puppet is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I watched Naked Guy when I first got him because the person that sent him to me was being like extra careful and like sanitized him with something very perfumey, and I couldn't even. I was
Oh,
like just
geez. Ooh.
super allergic, so I had to wash him, and now his head is crooked. Like I couldn't get the foam.
Character. It's
Yeah, and I was
character.
just
Yeah.
like, I was like, yeah, it's part of his personality
Right.
now. Like, and he doesn't smell weird.
That's good. Yeah, I would never. The most I've ever done is like Febreze, like just spray like because sometimes you're wearing them and it's 100 degrees out and you take it off and your arm is just sweaty and gross. And we'll just spray a little
Yeah.
Febreze inside it, just so the sweat smell might go away. But
Yeah,
that's
I
the
would probably
oh,
use a scentless enzyme
or something like
spray
that.
because
Yeah.
it will kill the bacteria. The
But it's up to
Febreze
the,
would,
but also I leave that to
yeah,
the tier. Like, oh, if you want to spray it down, go ahead. If don't, I don't care. They'll dry out. Like we
yeah.
always have like a fan that will lay them at the puppet hole, like in front of the fan, just to blow air in it to cool it off. Like,
I have legitimately never puppeted to the point of sweaty. Like,
oh, like when we were making Bernice 2, we shot it in summer of 2022, and there was a heat wave. Anything over 100 degrees for 3 days is a heat wave. And of course, the week that we shot the bulk of the outdoor stuff was that week.
yeah,
And it was miserable hot that week. And there were times where like there was one day we just stopped at like 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. We were like, we're done. We went to like the studio space and just sat there in the air conditioning and just like it was like maybe the 3 or 4 days in, it was like we can't do this anymore. Like the puppets are not. they're not going to survive. The wheelchair
Yeah.
with remote control. I mean, you've seen the trailer. There's a wheelchair, so it's literally a remote control wheelchair that we had. So the puppets are on the wheelchair and it's remote controlling. We burnt the motors out. It was so hot out.
Oh no.
We didn't know what was wrong with it. We're like cutting cables, trying to fix things. And I don't know anything about remote control cars. And we had it built at a place here in Connecticut. So I texted the girl who built it, her and the other guy who worked at that built it. I'm like, hey, I don't know what's wrong with it. And they're like, oh, we'll come and fix it for you tonight. We're like, yay. They came and brand new motors, fixed it. And by the time we were done filming, it burnt out again because we beat it up. But
Yeah.
there's a few
That's
scenes
so cool.
where we were pulling it on fishing line because it was like we're so close to done. Let's just use the fishing line and we'll fix it in the edit and like hopefully no one will see it. No one sees it, but yeah, there were a couple times it was rough. But
Yeah, I was wondering about that in the trailer, like if it was remote controller, because obviously
I'd say
the
like 75, 25, 75 remote control, 25 like being pushed or pulled or yeah,
that's cool. That's
strength. Yeah.
that's like dedication to like detail right
Yeah, we
there.
it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. So,
That's cool. So you working on you got something you're working on now or
we usually take a break around this time of year. We got 3 films we're going to do next year for sure. We still releasing videos every Friday. We in 2022 we shot all year, so we could take this year 2024. 2023 we shot all year. So 2024 could be a little easier on us because 21, 22, 23 we're just so busy. Um, so everything we shot last year we started putting out in April, and we've been doing a video a week through April of 2025. We'll have a video every single week. Some are like 1 minute skits, some are 20-minute short films, which is cool. So that's going to keep going through April, and then even through August, we'll have enough stuff that we'll have almost every week through August after that, which is cool. And we're making some new stuff, so we'll add as we go. We have another longer film, like another hour-long film, like Head or Bernice and Josh and Todd, that we're going to hopefully shoot in the spring. Jungle Man 3. We did these 2 horror parody movies called Jungle Man and Jungle Woman. We have a third one we're going to shoot hopefully in the spring as well. And then a couple other short films like skitty type things, like 5-minute, 6-minute shorts, but nothing that we've officially scheduled, but those things we have planned. We don't have the actual date
nice.
set, but we have puppets built, ready to go. So that's good. Yeah.
Do you guys do
No.
behind the scenes stuff? I don't really remember seeing
Yeah.
anything on your Instagram, like
Um,
behind the scenes
we
photos
don't
or
do a lot
anything
on
like
like
that.
Instagram. We'll put photos up now and then. But if on our YouTube channel, like for Bernice and for Head, there were a whole series of behind the scenes making of videos we put out. If you did you buy the Bernice streaming on VHX?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all included with that too. So if you
Okay,
watch
cool.
the movie right after that, the 5 behind the scenes videos play, then all the music videos. It's kind of
Nice.
cool. So you have all that there in one package as well, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so we do a lot of that, but we put them on YouTube as videos or on our Patreon, and then eventually they'll make their way to YouTube. So
Yeah, I did like a behind the scenes with like I had when I make stuff for TikTok, I just sit down for like 2 hours and just record a bunch of stuff. And
yeah,
so I did like where I
smart.
recorded it, then went and edited it, and I put that on
Oh, cool.
Patreon.
Yeah,
And they
perfect.
really
Yeah.
liked that because they were like, "Oh, that's because you can." What I did is I would record a couple, 1 or 2 takes, and then
Mm-hmm.
show the finished product,
Perfect.
and then
Cool. Yeah.
so that they could see, and that
Yeah.
was fun.
When we did like the Johnny Sojai poetry corners or the Bad Monster Love Monster bits, those were all shot in one day, and there's 10 of them, and we do them like 2 hours, so it's great. So then we have 10 of those to go over the course of 10 months or 12 months, one
Yeah,
month or one every other month to get us through the year, so that's yeah. Like with Plan 9, we put a behind the scenes up that's almost as long as the movie, behind the scenes like documentary, and that's only on Patreon or VHX. It's not on YouTube. Maybe eventually we'll put it there, but it's kind of fun to have it
yeah,
exclusive if you pay for it in one of those spots. And yeah,
yeah. So you say like, do you have like a fixed team of people that
yeah,
you work with?
yeah. There's about a dozen of us that do most of the projects. Not everybody can do everything. We have our day jobs in our lives, but most of us work on everything together, which is great. Whether it's a writer, producer, puppeteer, um, special effects, like everyone, we all kind of take turns doing different things, whatever, which is fun because we got to learn new things. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's about a dozen of us though that on a regular basis do the projects. I think Plan
okay,
9 was
cool.
the last one everybody worked on, which is cool, which is the last big thing we did too. So, and Bernice, everyone worked on. And we bring
That's
people in. Sometimes
cool.
we have like other people that we know are puppeteers. We might need extra puppeteers. So we call them in and things like that. So it's fun. Yeah.
That's neat. It's like a family, puppet family,
Yeah,
create a creative puppet family.
yeah, and we get together like on average once a week we get together just to meet up and go over what we're doing or rehearse or even film, which is kind of fun. So we all see each other, and we were just talking about this recently how like a lot of times a lot of adults don't have a group of friends anymore because they have their friends, but they only see them like 3 or 4 times a year because they have the kids, the job, the family, the this, that. And then here we are with this group of adults who at least 2 or 3 times a month, we're all sitting in a room together laughing even if we don't get any work done, we're laughing our asses off, having fun together. And it's like
Yeah,
we know how lucky we are to have this.
yeah. That's it's true. My son has like his group of friends and they do like D&D and stuff, and I think that that helps
It's the
them
same. Yeah,
stay
it's a very
connected,
similar to
right?
that. Yeah, the camaraderie. And I
Yeah.
and like if and we've had people come and do like one project with us. We know that's the only project they're going to do with us because they just want to do this one thing or whatever. But like to be one of us, you have to enjoy the camaraderie, the fun, the hanging out. Although to be there on a regular basis, otherwise you're not going to have fun working with us either. As
Yeah.
a big group. And we've had people come in and just have a huge ego about that. Like I'm too good to hang out with you guys. It's like then I don't want to work with you.
Yeah,
It's like
gross.
then all right,
Ew.
we're done. We'll do this one project and we don't need to see you anymore. Usually those people weed themselves out pretty quick. We figure out who they are pretty quick, but it's just like, or they're just trying to like, oh, you guys are really good with this one thing. I want to be a part of it now because they're trying to get themselves popular with something and ride our coattails. It's like, go away.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
I I've had a few people that wanted to be on my podcast and it
yeah,
was about them getting seen or whatever.
mm,
And the vibe was so different. It
yeah.
didn't like, like I'm like, hey, I just want to have fun. I do this because
Right.
it feels good. I
Chat,
just want to have
hang
fun.
out, get
And
to know people. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm like, because I have this whole like this the way that like society is sort of obsessed with like celebrities and stuff. And I'm like, and the thing is they're like celebrities are totally dehumanized. They're not seen as
yeah,
like people. And I'm like, what makes another human being interesting is what makes them human, right? So I'm like, yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I so okay, so the videos that you make with Rich with that goes in Rich's mouth,
Yes.
those is that because that's a thing for him
Yeah,
and it turned into a thing?
he's one of these guys. I've known him since I was like 15, and he's he's always had like I can eat anything, I can handle anything. And then you're like, how about this? He's like, fuck no, I'm not eating that. But like and then like every now and then you'd see him like he'd put a video on Facebook of him like, look at this weird food I found, and he'd eat it and tell you if it was good or not. And we were sitting there in an Elmwood meeting one night laughing because he had done one. He'd do it like once every year or so. We'd see when one would pop up because he'd be like at a gas station, see something crazy and just eat it. So we were like, we should make a show out of this. And he was like, oh yeah, we should. And he had no idea how big we were going to do it. They were like, oh yeah, well we got this, we're going to do this. He's like, okay, cool. And he's one of us. He puppeteers. He like co-plotted out the Jungle Man movies. He's in Bernie. Like he's a character. He's with us, so one of our team, obviously. And he shows up for the first day of shooting, and he was like, "Wait, you guys have like a set built?" Like he didn't know we were doing it. We just, yeah, oh yeah, we're making this a real show. And he was like, "Holy shit!" And that was the potato chips night, the one with the dick chips and everything. So he was just like, "Oh, this is gonna get weird," and it's been so much fun. We did all of those last year in like 2 months. We did like think we did 3 episodes the first day, 3 episodes the second day, and then one. I think there's 7 episodes total so far, and they were just so much fun. Like, yeah, but that's what he
I
does. But and he loves to talk about the food he's eating and everything, and he always has a story. And like, it's like, yeah, let's get Rich on camera because he's such a character.
Yeah,
And
that's they're like I'm so particular about food, so I'm very
yeah,
like smells, texture
oh
sensitive.
yeah, the
So
one with the
I
canned
have like a
fish.
whole I
Oh
have a whole like visceral reaction while watching the videos, but they're still like a
yeah.
lot of fun to watch. And I'm like, hey, it's better that he has the experience than me.
And that was the thing. Like he was really worried when I said we're gonna do this, we're gonna find crazy stuff. He's like, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to. And I was like, Rich, honest to God, I'll be on camera with you, and I won't make you eat anything I wouldn't eat. And he
Right.
was like, okay, because I don't. I'm a little pickier than him. I'm not a very picky eater at all, but textures, things like that too. I'm like the one with the canned fish stuff. I lose it. I'm like at one point, but I ate it. I still ate it.
Yeah.
It's like all right, I'm gonna do it. I committed to
I'll
this, but like, and none
I'll
of it was
try everything once.
yes. That's the thing. I'll almost everything once. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Yeah, like even I think that's the same episode where he's like, not everything is food, you know, like just because it looks like you can eat it doesn't mean we should be eating it, you know. And
Yeah.
that show was so, and then having we had to have the puppet element too, so we got to get the monster puppets.
The puppet commentary,
Yes,
you're just like,
and those guys are so funny too. Like, yeah, they're
yeah. This that was really yeah. Some of the like because I'm trying to remember. I have a terrible memory for what stuff I've watched. I remember how things make me feel. I don't remember the details, but like there was something that Rich said, and then the puppets were like, "Oh, he said blah blah blah," and it was just like I just like cracked up. It
yeah.
was
There was
like,
well, there's a couple inside jokes in there too, where like people like they've, but it's still funny. Like, I remember one of those was an inside joke at one point. He said something about somebody we used to work with, and it was just like with Elmwood, he made like a joke about them, and it was like ooh, because we all knew. And then I said something else, and it was like, oh, don't bring that up now. And like, and it was funny, but like if you know us, it's like even funnier if you like hang out with us.
yeah. That's funny. The layers.
Yeah,
Um, I also was curious about the Confessions with Lisa
Lisa.
series. Like how did you like got like I mean, so for those who haven't watched this, you should go watch, but um it's like a mannequin head, right?
On the couch. Yeah.
It's just like painted and stuff and then people like talk at her. And the first one that I watched was this really great story about the unicorn.
Oh, Nikki.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was just like,
Yeah.
but I love like the weirdly timed applause.
Applause and like
That
gas. Yeah. So we
yeah.
had this mannequin that was liberated from a store. Um, and it ended up in our studio, and we started like and the back of its head it has like embedded into it like the way it was molded the name Lisa.
Hmm.
So and it was like this whole thing when it was at the store. Me and Mike, who's one of the puppeteers, we worked there at this particular store, and one of the guys that worked there would change her clothes. It was an Army Navy surplus store, and one of the guys that worked there every Saturday he'd change her outfit. Like it was like a running joke. That was his girlfriend. He's dressing her, and we take pictures of him like as he's taking her clothes off, and like send him to his wife. He'd be like, he's cheating on you with Lisa. Like, and it became this joke at work. And then somebody that one of the managers that was above us, I was one of the managers, but a manager, I think maybe the owner of the company, even was like, throw that thing away. It doesn't work here. It doesn't make sense. Like it's just the torso and the head. Just throw it out. I'm like, all right. So that night, at the end of the night, the dumpster was surprisingly looked so much like the trunk of my car. I got him confused. And she went home with me. And I remember like my girlfriend at the time, I bring it home and I just put it like in the dining room where we were living in the apartment. And she's like, what the fuck is this? The next morning, I'm like, I'll explain, you know. And then it ended up like we also Elmwood was involved with this art gallery for a while. We had a studio in there, and we would do a lot of art, like of our screenings and things like that. And around that same time was a Halloween event, so we painted her look like Dr. Frankenfurter and gave her an afro wig. And then it was like, all right, Lisa's gonna be this thing now. And we spray painted her silver, and then we just kept doing different stuff to her, like over the years. And then we put her in a Risley Brothers episode as Lisa, like she's a like the character's like, there's this creepy man, can we get this thing out of the bar? There's like this whole joke about it. And then we used her in Bernice too. She's got a scene in Bernice too. And then it was like, all right, we should do more with this mannequin. It's just weird. It's funny. It's always in the background of stuff. We'd always find a way to put it somewhere in the background. And then one day I just was talking with Mike, the same guy, about like we should give Lisa like her own talk show or something. He's like, oh, that'd be funny. Like she just sits on the couch. Yeah. But she never says anything and people just talk to her. And then another guy in our group, Tricky, was like, it's like you're confessing, like you're going to confessional with Lisa, and that's where the name
Yeah.
came. Confessions with Lisa. And then I just had like over the course of like 2 days, like, as everybody was coming over for stuff, like just sit down. You got 5 minutes, do whatever you want to do. Remember, Lisa's not going to talk back to you, so do whatever you want to do. And everyone did something funny. We're actually going to do more next weekend, or this it's Sunday now. So on Saturday, we have a couple people who haven't done them yet. They're coming over Saturday to do more. So we have like
Awesome.
a dozen of these like banked to go, and they're all silly. They're all silly. So
Yeah. Do you add the sounds after the
oh
fact, or
yeah,
are you okay?
yeah, we don't even use a microphone. Like we're not even we just put a video camera up, hit record, so it's the air in the room you can hear. It's so low budget. There's no lighting. It's just the lights over the overhead lights in the studio on my puppet making studio. So it's like not even like high quality. Like this Zoom conversation is a higher quality, like the way we're doing this now than the Lisa show, which is just hilarious to me.
Yeah.
And but it's so much fun, you know.
It is. It's so funny. Like I tried to imagine. I was like, what would I? Because I'm like really like if I was there and you were like, yeah, just go sit down. My
Yeah,
brain would go, I don't know.
one of the
So,
guys in our group his name is Alex, and he did his. It's going to come out in February, and his is he's not usually snappy and like he's a great writer. He wrote the Plan 9 movie, in fact, but he's just even admits it. He's like he's just not on the cuff. On the spot. He's not as funny, and that's what made his so good because he was so awkward and uncomfortable. And then when it was over, he was like, "Was that okay?" I'm like, "Dude, that's maybe one of the funniest ones because it's just you are everyone who any normal person would just sit on that couch, you behave like they would, and that's what makes it so good."
Right.
Where Nikki, she's an actress and she loves the attention, so she's gonna have a great story to tell, and like, yeah.
She's
And then
got that
Ronnie came on it.
charisma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ronnie came on and just sang his new single, which was hilarious. Like talk shows always
Yeah.
have a musical guest, so he just came on and pulled out his guitar and played his new song, the homies, and like, yeah. So
Yeah,
different people do.
I saw his too. It was funny.
Yeah,
I try. I'm not good at watching stuff. Like it's just attention span, but I do make it a point to like go look when you
yeah.
post new stuff so I
What I
can
like is
actually
they're
watch
all
it.
these things are short too, which is nice. Like
Yeah.
they're I think the longest one is 4 minutes. Like they're not, which is good.
Yeah.
I think if they went
Yeah.
longer than like really, I told you, you got 5 minutes to do what you want to do. I think if anything went over anything over three, it's like, oh God, what are they doing? Anakin doesn't talk. These shouldn't be that long.
Right. Yeah. I like the diversity of content too. I know that like there's a lot of push for niching, but I really like that you have like a variety of different things
I mean,
too.
we do like
So
stuff for like the animal behavior is definitely a family friendly, very Muppety kids show. And then we do the Lisa stuff, which is definitely more aimed at adults, or we do the Graveyard Gill horror stuff. And then like we like to do we
so
want to
you have a day job
we do
and you
oh
do
yeah.
this stuff. So
I have a day
you
job, yeah.
that's like I can't even imagine having that much
Oh, I don't
energy.
have a
Like,
social life. Like
yeah.
we
Well, I
I
mean,
don't
you
have a
do.
social
It's just
yeah.
that your your hobby and your social life are
They
one.
they are one in a lot of I mean
Yeah.
like I have friends that aren't part of Elmwood Productions, but most of my close friends are part of the team right now, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Like not all of them, but like my girlfriend has nothing to do with it, like things like that. But like we which is good because you want to keep something separate too.
Right.
But like there's yeah, so like my social life is pretty much when we get together and do things, like yeah. And the day job is great though. I'm grateful for my day job. It's a very easygoing position. The people I work with know what I do. So if like one day I'm like, I gotta blow out an hour early because we gotta start filming, they're like, yeah, go. It's like, oh, thank you. It's not one of those
That's
like super
awesome.
corporate, like, like, oh, you came in an hour early anyways. So yeah, that's why I'm leaving an hour early. Let's, like they're really good about it.
Yeah.
Like
That's like the best of
when I was hired, they knew what I was doing. They knew all about it. Like I had friends that worked for the company, so they were like, "Oh, this guy would be great for this job, but he also does this thing." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't let him do his thing." Where
yeah.
the previous job I had, how dare you have a life outside of work? It was one of those
Right.
awful. Like I remember the owner of the company pulled me aside and he was like, "You need to stop doing your puppet movies and this and that, unless it benefits us at the job. You can use the puppets here and do things, but you can't do anything for yourself." And I'm like, "What I do off the clock is none of your business." Well, you should be
Right.
here 80 hours a week, and I'm like, "You don't pay me to be here 80 hours a week." Like he was just
Yeah.
very, very
That was
selfish.
my last job was like that too. And it was I'd never worked anywhere that was quite like that.
Yeah,
I
I never had a boss like that before, and I was like,
it was yucky. It was not yeah, it was like I would try to get out to do things like go to my son's school for an event and
"And
even
how dare
that
you?"
was an issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Oh
it
yeah.
was weird. I had
Yeah.
to I had to get a dog to be able to like leave work at a reasonable time because that he could relate to. And
Oh
then
wow.
but I still had to be online working once I got home for the for the dog. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I was just like, "What?" But I've had other jobs where I the creativity stuff's very new for me. It was
Mm.
like a couple of years ago. I got diagnosed with ADHD and started
Mhm.
taking the meds, and all of a sudden my brain went, all these things you've always wanted to do, you can do them.
You can do
Like
them. Yeah.
I could never find the pathway to my creativity before that. There was like, and
I
so
was I was very lucky that like my mother was very creative. She drew, she was a guitar player, she was very pro that. And my dad was a mechanic, so he was a hands-on guy. So they were very much like, "Oh, you want to do creative things here." And I think it also kept me out of their hair. "Oh, here's
yeah,
coloring books, here's art, here's puppets to play with. Now you're over here so we can do our thing." Like I got
yeah. Well, it's
lucky. Yeah.
yeah, my mom was very creative as well. She still is, and it's funny because my her boyfriend was not a mechanic, but my dad was, but they did not give me access to they
Yeah.
prioritize theirs and then we're like, go outside. So
My-
it
I'm
it
grateful that
was, yeah,
my dad was always like, I get you want to do art, I get you want to make films, like whatever it is. Even when I was like a kid, he's like, but have a job. He's
yeah,
like, because that might not be your job. Have something else you want to do. And even as a little kid, I'm like, I want to work in a movie theater. I want to work in a record store because those are things I liked. So my first real job in high school was at a movie theater. You know, my second real job, well, a couple of jobs, I eventually managed music stores, like record stores, like, and that was stuff I loved doing. So I did a lot, I've done a lot of retail, which does usually give you the time to do your thing. Because once you clock out, they don't, most retail places aren't like, what are you doing? They're like, get the fuck out of here. We don't want to give you overtime anyways
right.
because we're retail. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I just I like moved out when I was like 16, so I just focused on working.
Mm,
But my creativity went into like fixing stuff. Like
that's cool.
I did all the
That's
work on my vehicles, my
nice.
motorcycles, like helped my friends, taught them how to do that stuff. And then my jobs were, I never went to school. I didn't even finish high school. So for me, I got jobs like in the tech industry just because I could learn to do it
Yeah.
myself. So that's what I did. And that's where the all my creativity went, although I didn't think I was being creative. And then later I
You don't
realized as
realize
I
it. Yeah.
it's the same, I'm using the same connectors. I did do photography all of those years, but I also didn't consider that creative because I like to take really, I try to capture, use the camera to take a photo that's as close to what I was actually seeing as
Hey,
possible
it's still
rather than,
creative though. Yeah.
yeah. And then it
People
was
don't
like,
think a
oh,
lot of people don't think of photography as that creative unless you're like setting up a set to photograph or something. But no,
right.
man, there's a lot of moving parts to how you even making it look as real as it is to you. Like
Yeah.
where your brain
And
has to go to
it's,
do that is creative. Yeah.
I just failed to like appreciate it until I started doing the artsy fartsy stuff. And then it was like, oh, these are
Was
little things,
this
you know?
was this diagnosis and all that happened during like COVID, during like the lockdown and everything you said a few years ago? 'Cause I know so
Yeah.
many people like they got laid off or whatever, and they were getting unemployment for a time or whatever it would be, and they had this time on their hands, and all of a sudden it was like all these things I want to do. Now I have like 6 weeks off or whatever. I'm gonna try and do new things because who knows how long it's really gonna be. And I knew
Right.
so many people who suddenly were like, I want to be an artist. I want to do this. I want to learn how to play an instrument. And it was like, and now they're still going. A lot of them are still doing it, like maybe like you.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
and I love seeing that from my friends and people. It's like, oh my God, yeah, all these people are doing cool creative stuff now. Something positive came out of that insanity. Like,
Yeah. Seriously, I feel like, I when I went to get the diagnosis, it was partially because I could tell that I was basically dopamine deficient. I was not getting any rewards from doing anything anymore. So it was like once I started taking the meds, all of a sudden it was like boom, and it just opened up the like floodgates. But it also like because I have like some chronic health stuff, I had been so unwell for so many years that I had not been able to really do anything. I for a while I couldn't drive, I couldn't hold a conversation. It was really bad. And so the medication actually helped stabilize those other issues as well. And so I started being able to do more. And I think like a big group part or foundation, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? The core of my Patreon supporters are people who watched me go through those years of not being able to do anything, all of a sudden, just like my life exploding in color, right? Whereas, like, and I do all the things. There's like, I don't, sometimes I don't even appreciate how many things I do. And then someone will be like, will like share my profile on like X or whatever and be like, "Oh, she does so many things. So if you're not into this, check out her stuff because she probably does something you're into."
and then you're like, oh
And
my God, I do all that. Yeah.
yeah, but I just do what makes me happy. So I just chase that thing and and my creativity has been slower this year because my health went wonky, but that's what the surgery's for. So
Hmm.
I'm anticipating some relief after that. And then I
Good.
should this next year be able to do more. But I'm so happy that I've been able to hang on to the podcasting because that for me is like so rewarding. Like
I can
just to be able
imagine,
to like
yeah.
sit and
And chat.
talk and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like in the house. The isolation everyone went through COVID, that's been my life since 2013.
Wow.
Except that nobody ever went, "Hey, let's do a video call."
Yeah,
You
because
know?
in 2013, who thought to do that though, too? Like, yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, so I'm like I'm making it happen for me,
good.
but then I get to share it and I get a lot of good feedback from people that say that the conversations are like relaxing for them, kind of helps them like just sort of wind down from the week or
Very
whatever.
cool.
And
Yeah.
I love that I have that, like, you
Have
know,
that for somebody else. Yeah,
yeah,
give that back to some.
that's, I'm like, I do it for me, but if it has a positive influence, if it makes one other person smile, then I won. I've won,
That's
right?
like the Elmwood Productions motto is like we're not trying to offend anyone, we're just trying to entertain ourselves. And if we're entertained, somebody else will be too. And when we find
Yeah.
out that when somebody reaches out, I was like, oh my God, this was I and it's like, oh yes, we're happy we did it. But that validation that somebody else got a good feeling from it.
Yeah,
It's always a
exactly.
good thing. Every now and then
I've
we'll get
never
a random email from like through our email, and it's like somebody who just saw a head. It's always head for some reason. I just saw a head. It really like I know it's a crazy horror movie, and it's a comedy, and there's all this f bombs and puppet boobs and this, but like man, it just really got me. I feel like I watch a movie like that, and I'm like I can do this too, and like man, I want to show all my friends because it's inspiring. And I'm like wow, that's the movie. But okay, cool. Like yeah, like or when like most people have seen Bernice come up to us after like, yo, that movie touched me. Like I get like this and that. It's like cool, like yeah,
You're touching people.
touching people and not like Bill Cosby.
Not
Uh,
inappropriately.
not inappropriately, yeah. I mean, like when we had the
Yeah.
premiere, we actually we weren't sure when we made Bernice 2 because we shot it in 2021, most of it, that if we were gonna be able to do like a public premiere, like a screening, we thought it was gonna be an all online thing. And then we finally decided, let's find a place. Let's do it. We set a date before we even had a location. Because like, if we can't find a place, let's do it online because everything's online right now. We found a place that was willing to do it because, the lockdowns were over. It was 2022. It was February. And then I don't know if it was on, like, every state had different mask mandates. And in Connecticut, the mask mandate was being lifted the following Friday. And we're like, God damn it, if we had known, we would have waited a week. Like just
Yeah.
so if people didn't want to wear them, they could be comfortable. We got to the theater and the theater was just like, honestly, if people don't want to wear them, it's fine. Like this is our first, that was their first event for public since COVID. And we're like, you guys are our test run. Like if we're gonna wear it as a staff, but if people don't want to, we're not gonna be we're like, okay, that was cool. Everyone had to bring their positive test or their vaccine card still to get in.
Yeah.
But that was our doing just because, but or the negative test, I'm sorry, not positive test. But and I remember like at the screening when it was over, like we did a Q&A with this comedian who we know did like a stand up. We had one of the bands from the soundtrack play. Then we showed the movie. Then we did a Q&A after. And people were coming up to us after that, like like you could tell they were like in tears. And I'm like, oh, the movie touched them. This is cool. Like it was an unexpected. We knew the movie had a good heart, but like, and it was, and also for a lot of these people, it was their first time doing something in public in a year since
Yeah.
the fall and like since like March, like with a big group, and it was like, and it was a fun communal thing. It wasn't like some crazy rock concert where everyone's jumping around and bumping into each other, and it wasn't like a family event where it could be stressful because you're with your family, or like it was this goofy movie screening. You know?
Yeah, it's almost like they got to experience the, going to the theater and having that bigger sensory experience, like in a
Yeah,
fresh way where, it was easy, like before people kind of took it for granted, right?
granted,
And
yeah. I remember the
yeah,
first movie I saw in the theater after COVID. It was April the following year. April, no, April or May. April or May in 2021. And I went to the movie theater. I'd done a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo for a movie, and it was actually playing locally, and you could get like a free pass because you did it. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna get the pass. I want to go. I wanted to see it. It was not on DVD or anything yet. That was coming, like. And I went, and I'm like wearing my mask. You still have to wear masks and all that. And I get in the theater, and there's no one else. I was the only one in this like major chain multiplex, sitting in the center of the theater by myself. And I'm like, this is first off, this is cool. Secondly, I'm like,
yeah,
take my mask off and breathe in here. This
yeah,
is nice too. Like, like, but it was a nice feeling to be back out. That was like the first like thing I did besides stuff with friends too. That I was out where I did well, other than grocery shopping and stuff. It was like, this is cool. Yeah.
yeah. I still haven't been to the theaters or any of that stuff,
No.
but
Yeah.
it's partially just like I'm not if I could go to the theater and it's just a few people, that's cool. Like my favorite theater experiences were like when the local theaters before they closed down would do like the midnight showings of
Yeah.
like a Treehouse of Horrors and stuff
Yeah.
like that, or Transformers, the
I love the
original the
midnight
cartoon,
stuff. The cartoon movie. Yeah.
where it's not like super packed and the people are more chill and stuff. That's more my
I'm like
vibe.
a
But
Tuesday afternoon movie theater guy where there's like maybe
yeah,
15 people there. That's more, yeah, my vibe.
exactly.
When I was younger, I want to opening night to every fucking movie that looks cool. Now I'm just like, nah.
Yeah.
remember the last time I had to be at something like opening, and I didn't even have to be there. It was a bunch of friends wanted to go with Spider-Man 3. So we're going back to like 2006. I think that came out. Maybe, yeah, it was six, and or was it seven? I don't, either way. And I went to like the midnight showing with a bunch of buddies, and remember, I'm a comic book guy and all that, like, but I was in this room with a bunch of like guys who lived in their mom's basements, and they all smelled like beef and cheese, and they all like, and it was just
Oh.
like, and I'm in this theater like, I'm never doing this again. I'm
Yeah,
never
that's
doing, and I've been to like movies opening night since then and all that, but like I was never like no, no, like it was just like, and I was just like, this is not fun for me right now.
I do have to say that being in the area of California that I'm in, that the quality of nerd is different here.
Oh, this is also
And
almost 20 years ago too. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
Quality
even
of Nerd is
back
different
then,
now too. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like yeah, so I was pretty lucky to not, even back in the day, not have to deal with that too much. Because like as a female going into those environments, it can be like,
Can be very
and
intimidating.
and
Yeah.
it's just not, well, I'm more intimidating than they are, but
Excellent.
yeah. But but yeah, it like the Midnight Transformers movie, I took my son to that. That
Cool.
was probably,
The
and we
animated
saw,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, when they I went to that re-release too when they did it up here. I think it was a national one, like, but I remember I didn't go to midnight, but I went to see it with a buddy. Yeah.
I don't, maybe it was. I don't remember. Then we went to the, before the Alamo went national, I went down to Texas to see some friends. I had
Oh,
my son
cool.
with me, and we saw Spaceballs on the quote along night where they
That's awesome.
have and my friend's son, who is also autistic, he was at that age where he was starting to understand humor, and the guy was like, oh, I'm gonna comb the desert, and
And the comb.
and he got it, but he laughed for
Nice.
like the next half an hour about that joke. Like
It's the jokes like that are also the best. Like those visual
yeah,
gags, the fork in the road in the Muppet movie. There's a
yep,
giant fork in the road. It's like that type of humor is just like next level, like silly, and
yeah.
everyone can get it.
Yep. Some people think it's like lowbrow, and I'm like, I think it's like the opposite,
Yeah,
because it's a play on words and you have to understand,
right.
right? Like I don't know. That's why I started doing those like memes that are all like, well, some of them are like positive messages, but a lot of them are just puns. And I love it. I'm just the whole time I work, I'm like, yeah. There was something I was gonna say, I can't remember. Did you grow up having a favorite like Muppet or anything like
Yeah,
that?
I mean, like Kermit the Frog. Like even as a kid, I was like, when I was a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, I want to be Kermit the Frog. And they're like, oh, you want to be the puppeteer that plays Kermit the Frog? And I was like, no, no, I want to be Kermit the Frog. I want to be this guy who like does these cool things and has like his friends, and now here I am being Kermit the Frog. Like I have my
Right.
group of friends, and I didn't even think that till like years later. I'm like, oh my God, I actually grew up to be Kermit the Frog. I have long, skinny arms and a big belly, and like I'm physically like Kermit the Frog. And I also like the
And
round body.
you can't see your seam.
You can't see my seam. No, no.
Yeah.
I'm wearing out, but you can't see my seam. And like, but like, he was like, I wanted to have like, I want to be Kermit the Frog. Like, the idea of playing Kermit the Frog would be cool, but I never had, even as a kid, I didn't want to be a puppeteer for the Muppets. I wanted to be a puppeteer, and if I got a job with the Muppets, that'd be great. But it was never like, that's just a job. I wanted to work in a
Yeah.
record store. There were 10 record stores. Which one's going to hire me? Like I
Right.
wanted to. So it was just, so I made my own way. But Kurt the Frog is probably my favorite, followed by Ernie and Bert. Like they're a team, to me.
Yeah.
For Sesame Street, and then regular Muppets, Rolf the dog was my other favorite. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then Gonzo.
Gonzo
Yeah,
Gonzo was my favorite. Like
Gonzo comes in
I still
third. Yeah.
have my toy Gonzo from when I was a kid, that his nose hung out of my mouth all the time, like just, but I don't, I always identified with him, I think because he was weird.
He was weird. Yeah,
Um
I remember like one year my
and
birthday cake was had like a Gonzo figure on it because I mean he was my one of the other favorite besides Kermit and Rolf. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
going to go back there someday as one of the greatest scenes in any movie ever when he sings that in the Muppet movie. It's a perfect sequence. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Um, all right, let's do the question thing before I
Yes.
forget, because so this is the book, and I need three numbers from you between 1 and 3001.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
That's
These
a good
quite
question. That was my favorite of the
Yeah,
three. I like that.
yeah. These questions are interesting because there's no context, and it can be like kind of uncomfortable to like answer a question without the context. So then my favorite part of doing it is having the conversation to create the context to make the questions
Mhm.
answerable for us, you
I
know?
like that. Yeah, like we just did.
Yeah.
Like this is
Yeah.
why I wouldn't want to do that. Like yeah, I like that. Very
Yeah. It's cool. So, well, good. I got that part
yay.
done. I just gotta,
Yay.
yeah, woo. Um, I think those are like all my questions.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
I
thank you for
don't,
having me do this. This was a lot of fun. Is Ronnie's
yeah.
episode up yet?
Not yet. I have
Okay.
been holding on to everything. Once I found out I was having the surgery, I went,
You're
okay,
gonna
I'm gonna
hold
hold
on.
everything. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the New Year, like
I
the New
went
Year
looking. I went looking
episode.
for it a couple days ago, and I'm like, did I not? Is it not up? Am I just
It's not
dumb?
out
You
yet.
know? And I'm
Yeah.
like, the last one.
So
Yeah.
his will be the second episode of the year,
Cool.
and I messaged him to let him know, and then I have one session before this one that was like 2 hours. So I usually
Oh,
split them
two
up
episodes.
when they're
Yeah.
longer. So yeah, so yours will be a lot like probably February, but I'll let you
Oh,
know. I
excellent.
always let people know like a week in advance.
February
So
is a good month, so I'll take
yeah.
it.
So cool. Well,
Yay.
thank you for wanting to. I think it's so funny. I messaged you because I was like thinking about it for like a month, and then you were like, "I've been waiting for
But
you to
wait for this.
ask."
Actually, you said you're gonna have Ronnie on. I'm like, what about me? No, just kidding. Like, and I've listened to some of your other ones on Spotify and stuff too. So it was like, I want to. This would be fun to do. So like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and that like gave me a perspective I didn't have before. Like, so then I was like, well, how many other people have been waiting for me to ask? You know? So when I
yeah.
put the invite out, I'm gonna like word it differently and be like, if you've been waiting for me to ask, just let me
Just say
know.
so.
And
Yeah, or just
yeah,
ask me. Like,
because I
you
don't
know,
know, like, because I'm legitimately interested in most people, so
yeah.
I could, you know.
Like with our group, we've had people come to like we've gone to people like, hey, you're always coming to our stuff. You're always coming. Do you ever want to come and like play with puppets with us? Like, don't we always play with puppets? Oh my God, I've been wanting to. Just tell us that because we're very like if you can get here, we'll let you come and hang out with us and see how it gels too. Like some people just want to just do
Yep.
it for a night and actually
Yep.
see the puppets in the studio and just hang out for a night. Other people really want to do it, but they're afraid to ask. I'm like, just ask, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I ever go, I've never been to Connecticut, but if I feel like I would have a reason to go now just to play with puppets. So I
Hang
if
out
that
with
ever
us, yeah.
happens, I'll let you know
We'll get Ronnie up here and like,
yeah,
yeah,
just
mini reunion.
chaos. Yeah.
Connecticut's some people are like, oh, there's nothing to do here. I'm like, there's plenty to do here. You just have to get up and do it. It's
Yeah.
one of those states. Like it's
I
and
don't
when there is nothing to do, it's good because it's always too cold anyways when there's nothing. Like today it was only 10 degrees out. Yeah.
I
Like
don't I've never really understood the nothing because doing stuff costs money. And as a person that's never really had money, I've always been very good at finding things to do no
finding
matter
things to
where I'm
do.
at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
There's always
just
something to do. Yeah.
yeah. So it's weird.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, thank you again.
Thank
And
you. Appreciate it very much. Yeah.
we'll do it again like in a year or something.
Nice.
And then like we can talk about what's,
What's happened since?
yeah, and then I will put links in all the, so you guys can go look because you gotta look. And
We will look, yes.
yeah.
And
Well, I don't know. You
when
don't have to
anybody in
look, but
Elmwood
they,
does one of these things too, Elmwood Productions shares the hell out of it too. So we'll
awesome.
definitely let the world know it's out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, hopefully I'll get some. I always like the head movie. I always share that on X
Thank
because
you.
I'm like pulled into the horror community there. So I'm
Oh,
always like, you
nice.
guys should watch this.
Nice. Thank you.
But
Thank you. There
yeah,
will
so
be
hopefully.
two sequels. Oh, that's
Oh,
something else we're writing
really?
next year. We're writing them right now. Yep. We're not
Ooh,
probably going to film them next year. We're going to start pre-production next year. Make it a trilogy.
it's so
So, and
awesome.
they're going to get progressively weirder. So, like if Head was
That's
Evil Dead, Head 2 is definitely like Evil Dead 2, like the over the top insanity. But then Head 3 is
yeah.
gonna be a completely different thing. Like they're actually no Evil no, actually Head 3 would be more like Evil Dead 2 with the over the top insanity. Head 2 is more of a crime thriller. Like they're gonna all be
Okay.
their own vibe, but in the world. Yeah.
That's
With the same
awesome.
killer. Yeah. The
I
scarecrow. Yeah.
I look forward to that. I just got full of excitement.
Yay! I'm excited to hear that. Excited to hear that. So that's no secret. You can put that in the episode if you want. We're not keeping that a secret anymore that we're doing it. So
Okay.
getting the
Awesome.
scoop. Yeah. Well,
Cool.
thank
Well,
you
let me
again. I
do
really,
my
really, really appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. I'm gonna do a little minute and then
Sure.
I'll stop the recording here. All right. Thank you everybody for listening. And like I said, go check out M1 Productions. Go do it. And see you guys next week. If you're lucky.
Thank you for hanging out and listening. A huge thank you to my patrons. I could not do this without you. Want to support my creative chaos and get access to exclusive content? Check out my Patreon. Have questions and/or interested in joining me for a conversation? Email me.